Hey guys, this is Shannon with Nearly Organic Noshing, and today I thought I would show you a tour of my garden. I've not done one of these yet. I've kept putting it off thinking I would get more stuff planted or things would be blooming or things would be looking a little better, but I just decided, you know what, I just need to go ahead and do it before it's fall and I have a fall garden. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick walkthrough of the garden. And I will preface this by saying I am not an expert gardener. I don't really have a green thumb. I tend to have a brown thumb. I kill more stuff than I grow. I try really hard. I watch a lot of videos. I read a lot of books, but I still make a ton of mistakes. So don't necessarily do what I do. I'm just showing you what I do. And if you see major issues that I'm doing, you know, oh, don't plant this next to that, let me know. I know some of that, but on the whole, I should be called the hodgepodge gardener or the crooked gardener, because where something looks good, I tend to just kind of plant there. My rows are not straight, everything is crooked, but the way I see it is if it actually grows and I manage to pull something out to put on the table for my family, I'm really happy. So I'll go ahead and give you guys a tour of the garden. The first thing, we put a large gate here, big enough to take the tractor through, so that if I do need to take in large piles of mulch during the winter or manure, I can drive the tractor in and dump it, and it's much easier. And whenever we did the chicken project, we also fenced the whole garden in the same kind of fencing and expanded the garden a little bit. So it is a much larger area. And the area right when I walk in, this is just like herbs and flowers and an area where I can sit and pot things. And this is one of like my little potting tables. And this is another one where I have my starters going. And I have a few things started. Cabbage, collards, broccoli, honeydew, basil, morning glory, some Swiss chard, a couple of different kinds of watermelons, just a few things going here, and I really need to get them separated out and planted. I just honestly haven't had the time. And this is another potting table that as things get big enough, I take them from here and put them in the garden. And you're probably going to notice that a lot of my stuff is wilty. It's about almost 1 o'clock. I'm on my lunch break. And I'm in Florida and it's nearly 90, so it's pretty warm already here, even though it's just May. It's just gonna get hotter as the time goes. So I'll start at the beginning and take you guys back. That, like I said, that was my potting table area over here. This is butternut squash. I have just like a little patch of butternut right here. And I am doing the Back to Eden garden style. The whole garden is mulched, and it's quite a few inches, I'd say probably close to half a foot thick in mulch. And there's also a really wide border around the edge. Where the pole is directly in front of me that says Giant Pumpkin, that was the original border of my garden, and we've expanded it out. I'm going to try and not plant all the way to the edge and to keep a mulch border. I found that having a good mulch border keeps the grass out and it doesn't encroach upon the garden. So that's what I'm going to try and do, is keep a decent border along the edges. This right here is all giant pumpkins, and they're starting to grow and take over this area. This blank spot right here is where I originally had my potting table, but whenever we did the fencing project, I moved everything over there. Right here are yellow bunching onions, and then I have red onions here, and here are all, this whole area right here is all limas. And I'm using washer tubs, washer and dryer drums and tubs to do a lot of my, I guess you would call it, raised gardening. It contains things like the sweet potatoes, the potatoes. This back one right here, that is Jerusalem artichokes, which I need to keep contained so they don't take over the garden. And asparagus is in this one. I have carrots and parsnips in these next two. Then these two right here, these contain Okay, these two are ground cherries, and I am hoping that they are going to grow. I had picked them last year, put them in baskets in my refrigerator, put them in the back of a drawer, and said, oh, I'm gonna make jelly with that, and I didn't. And so I just kept them in the refrigerator all through winter, and then a few weeks ago I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna try and plant them and see what happens. So that's what I did. I have little plants coming up everywhere, and I'm really hoping that they're just gonna take off and they'll actually grow. In the middle here, the garden was smaller, like I said, before we expanded, and I was just trying to do a little bit of vertical gardening. I just had some old poles and PVC, and just started experimenting with stacking some of the poles. I may do this like in the corners or something like that, and keep them so that I can have flowering herbs and stuff in the corners, because they do work. But I just don't like them here in the middle of the garden, and come fall when I rip everything out, that's one of the things that I'm going to be moving. All of these drums, all the drums and the containers, I would like to empty, paint the same color, and put them along the back fence just so that things look a little bit nicer and cleaner in here, and I can make use of this middle space. So that's on my project list for much later. Down here I just have more flowers. I have peppers, things that are starting that I need to move. A couple pineapples, parsnips. These are just regular potatoes. I want to say this one right here was like an Idaho white. I don't know. I had something start sprouting in my basket on my counter in the kitchen, so I come out and plant it. When things start to sprout, I just come out here and shove them in the dirt somewhere and hope they take off. I like planting in containers like this because there's airflow, there's already holes for drainage, and it's contained, so when I'm ready to harvest, I just dump it out and paw through it and get all the potatoes or the carrots or whatever. These are sweet potatoes, and I don't know if you can tell, but I use the sawdust shavings, the same things that I use in my chicken run and in my coop. I mix it with compost, and that's what I layer in the tubs to use as a growing medium for the vegetables. There's some like lemon verbena and the pineapples. Keep working my way down. Right here, these are some watermelons. All of this, these rows right here, are squash and zucchini. They're turning really yellow. I don't know why these are turning yellow and the others are pretty green. I think they might be getting too much water because they're close to the sprinkler, but I can't really move the sprinkler because it needs to water the rest of the garden, so I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do there. All of this that looks very wilty because it's midday are pie pumpkins, so they are doing pretty well. I don't know if you can see, like right there, there's a pumpkin, and I'll take shingles, and I need to go ahead and do that for that one because it's getting big enough, and I need to bring a shingle out, and I put shingles underneath pumpkins that are going to get big, and it keeps them from rotting. Although the mulch really helps, it's not sitting directly on dirt, and if I have the mulch, it tends to, the acorn squashes and the butternut and all that tend to do really well and not rot, but the giant pumpkins that are going to take longer to develop, I think I'm going to keep the shingles underneath because it'll keep them from rotting. So again, all this was squash and zucchini. These are black beans, and interspersed here and there you see a couple of ears of corn coming up. My corn did not take off. I have an issue with ants, really bad issue with ants in the garden. If anyone has any suggestions for how to deal with garden ants, I would greatly appreciate it. I have tried every natural remedy out there, every organic remedy, and so far ants just take over. They carry away more seeds than I plant, and I have to replant because I go back and my seeds are just gone. And that's what happens with my corn seeds. I have more onions planted here. They've just not come up. I had originally carrots planted. The carrots just never came up, so I decided, you know what, I'll just plant onions here. Here and down one are spaghetti squash. And then, whoops, right here, don't really know what these are. They all came up in a row, so I'm presuming it's something I had last year. Volunteer of some sort. I think it's probably a squash plant of some kind, but we'll see whenever it actually develops. This whole row are different kinds of peppers. Banana peppers, jalapeno peppers, red peppers, bell peppers, just all different peppers. I've picked a couple of the banana peppers off, but so far they're pretty slow growing. Not quite sure what I'm doing wrong. Like I said, I am not an expert gardener. If I manage to get something off my vegetables, I'm really happy. All of this right here is okra. My okra did really well last year, and I think I'm down to just like 2 or 3 jars of the pickled okra that I did last year, and I'm looking forward to doing that again, along with cooking it in coconut oil in the cast iron skillet. It's just really good, crisps it up. These are different squash and zucchini plants back here. I think I actually even have a couple of purple zucchini, which I wanted to try, looked pretty good. This back row right here, that whole row is purple potatoes. My son's favorite is the purple potatoes, so I thought I would try growing some this year. They flowered, they're at the end of flowering, so I'm pretty sure that in the next month or so, they'll probably be ready for harvest. All of these in this area are green bush beans, and they kind of have gotten to this height and stopped. So I'm going to add some fertilizer to them. Not exactly sure what I am doing wrong, but I'm hoping that they're just going to hit a growth spurt and keep going. These are green beans. Behind it, this big trellis, and this one over here, those are all green beans. This trellis right here are lemon cucumbers, and if you notice, my trellises, none of them are the same. I just reuse things that I have here on the property. I hate having to go buy something like trellis, so all of this was free to make, and the cucumbers and the green beans and stuff can just go right up the trellis, and I can pull them out of the ground and move them somewhere else whenever I'm done. And then it's just garden string, wrapped around it for them to grow on. It warmed up really fast here in Florida, and my peas just aren't gonna make it. I have a feeling that they are just gonna die. It's really too hot for them. They need cooler spring weather. I'm gonna try again in the fall and see what happens, but they are just, they're pretty sad and pitiful. So I have a feeling these guys are just not gonna make it. Back here I have sun squash, and over here I have acorn squash, and along this back area that I still have not finished doing the mulching on. I mean, you can see how thick and deep I have the mulch, if you can see the ground down there, and how deep it is up here. It's just really mounded so that it keeps the grass out of the garden, and I don't have as much weeding and pulling to do, and it really helps. I have carrots growing in here. This was kind of an experiment. I'm not quite sure how, but all the seeds seem to have just washed towards the middle. But hey, at least I have seed tops, because normally I have carrots about the size of a matchstick. I don't do well with carrots. So this is the first time the leaves have ever gotten this big, so I'm really kind of hoping I actually have some carrots down there. We will see what happens. It was an experiment growing in sawdust. I've never done that before, and I just have layers of the wood shavings or the sawdust and compost mixed together. And it was just an old box that I had. The others I'd thrown away. This one I kept, threw some cardboard in the ends to hold everything in, and planted grass seeds. The tires all have sweet potatoes, and I have more tires down at the other end that I have not drugged down here yet. But so far, these two are 3 tires high, and I just come in and I dump in more sawdust and I dump in more compost and just keep mounding them up. And like the washer drums, when it's time to harvest, I just take all the tires apart and I pull my potatoes out, and I really like that. And the sweet potatoes do better in these kind of tires because of the black, and the sweet potatoes can handle the heat, and the regular potatoes just can't handle how hot it gets in those tires, but the sweet potatoes love it. So I just pretty much have the sweet potatoes in here. All of this are my tomatoes. Now, I'm not sure exactly what I'm not doing right with my tomatoes. I watch videos of people that are growing tomatoes, and they have these like 6 foot tall, beautiful bushes of tomatoes with tons of foliage, and that's not me. I'm trying really, really hard. I prune, I fertilize. I watched a video the other day with Patera from Appalachian Homestead, and she had put a recipe for tomato fertilizer that she had gotten. I made some up. I came out here, I kind of dug around my plants, I put it in. I'm hoping it will make a difference. Not sure if it really will. I'm thinking that they're not getting enough deep root water, possibly. So my next time around, I'm going to invest in some of those water spikes that go in the ground next to each of the plants that you put 2 liters on, and see if that makes a difference. And just try and get a bunch of those and unspike them, because they're pruned, they're fertilized, they have enough airflow, they have enough room to grow. I don't know if they just don't like the wood shavings or they're not getting enough water. I'm not sure. So like I said, live and learn. I'm learning. These are a couple of eggplants. These are, if you can see this right here, and this little guy right down here, is an Achicha cucumber. I ordered some seeds off an American Homestead. They have those on there, and they just seemed really cool. It's kind of like these little spiky cucumbers that you can grill, and they supposedly have a different flavor and grow really, really well. I don't know. Never tried. I had about 8 seedlings come up, and then overnight it seemed like all just disappeared except for 2. So I don't know if something ate them or they just died, but I'm down to 2, and I'm really hoping that at least these 2 will take off. Back here are just like regular white potatoes, and they go from right about here all the way to the very front of the garden is a line of potatoes that I planted. I'd say, I don't know, 60% of the row or so came up. Like I said, I have a real issue with ants in the garden. Even though I try and organically treat, they steal things and they eat things. These are cucumbers. I know everything looks kind of sad because it's really hot. I don't know, it might be up to like 92 right now, so things are just kind of wilting. These are green beans. I tried to grow lettuce underneath the trellis, thinking the shade might help the lettuce it not be so hot, but I think I was too late in the year and the lettuce did not want to grow. And I'll put maybe a couple little clips in here. When I was filming the other day, the puppy was in here just chewing on the little bit of lettuce that had came up. He seemed to really like it. So that's pretty much just puppy lettuce down under there. Same for here. I had grown some lettuce. Organic, what is this? Organic, crisp, tender, flavorful salad bowl lettuce. Yeah. Of that whole packet, that right there came up, and it looks like it's already bolting. So yeah, no lettuce here. Cucumbers, looks like they're starting to work on the vine. Those are potatoes, and behind it are pinto beans. All this right here, this row back there, are pinto beans that are coming up. These are some itty bitty little pitiful cucumbers. A couple of them survived, a couple did not. I don't know if I just planted them too soon. Not sure. We'll see what happens with the peppers. They just seem to take forever here. I don't know, it's just me. I'm a very impatient person. I want things just to grow. So these are cucumbers. This is just some of the leftover fencing that I kept, and I have other pieces that I salvaged from the fence job, and instead of all the little teepee things, I may end up just doing a couple more of these because it's just so easy to just stick in the ground and it gives me some variety options for growing. And work our way back down. There's more of the pinto beans and potatoes. They're about ready to harvest. Macy on a lizard hunt. She keeps my my garden pest free. She sees a lizard or the giant grasshoppers that get in here, and she goes after them until they're gone. So she is on her lizard hunt. And that is the garden. You know, have watering, the sprinklers and stuff back here. Water dish for the dogs. But this is it. You know, this is what I'm working on. I have a lot of plans for fall, and I think I have somewhere close to, I want to say 3,000 square feet, something like that. I haven't actually done the math, but it's a large garden, and I need to take better advantage of how much space I have. And now that it is fenced in, and the chickens were originally free ranging, and they could get in here and get to stuff. So now that it's fenced where they cannot get into here, I really just have to start taking advantage of what I have and doing more reading and trying to work with my soil and the mulch, and just what grows best in Florida. I've just found that I need to just plant more heat-loving things because everything else just isn't going to make it. So this is it. This is what I'm doing. If you guys have any suggestions or comments, I appreciate them, because I learn every day something new that I need to add or change, and I am definitely very open to suggestions. And thank you for joining us, and hope you guys have a great day.